Welcome, everybody. My name is Rafael Anochi. I am the founder of the Alkebulan Trust, and in this video presentation, you will learn why you should donate to the Alkebulan Trust. So, without further ado, let me show you why. So, as you're aware, the organization is called the Alkebulan Trust. This is our logo. At the bottom, if you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to visit www.thealkebulantrust.org, as you can see right on your screen. So what is the problem? What are we trying to solve? The problem that we are trying to solve is the poor education system, the poor healthcare system, and the poor economy system within the African and Caribbean diaspora. But what do we mean by poor education system in the African and Caribbean diaspora? Well, what we mean is they have similarities to prison, especially schools in America and Britain. The setup is more or less the same. So you have the authoritarian structure, I beg your pardon, and the dress code. I mean, you can see it right there on your screen. I do not have to even read it to go through it. But the most important thing that is there as well is set times and for playing. It's like, really? Children should have the freedom to express, to play, and learn how to play, or play, learn. But that is another presentation, or we can discuss that further. But then there's a negative reinforcement. There's less freedom. Do you know what that means? There's less freedom. What we also mean by poor education, which is more important, is they do not teach the laws of the land. So if your parent don't know the law of the land and they only know the basics because they learn as they go, but if they don't teach you that, the laws of the land, you don't teach your children the laws of the land, but you're going to expect the education system, public schools, to teach your children this, yet you didn't learn. But then the moment you get in trouble with the law, but you did not know the law of the land, you only know about the new laws that they're enforcing, and you read it in the newspapers and see that on the TV and the news. That's not a good way of learning about the laws. Maybe for updating, but other than that, because I guarantee you, if you're in Britain, I guarantee you that you do not know about the Magna Carta 1215. Not talking about Jay-Z's album, the Magna Carta, the Holy Grail. Talking about the Magna Carta, the law of the land that was stipulated in 1215. That is still valid today. But let's carry on. They don't teach about how the government and the civil services work. They don't teach you how to grow your own food. They don't teach you how to build and maintain a house. They don't teach you how to make your own clothes, or how the monetary system works, or how to fight and protect your land and your family. each other, be self-sufficient, and support each other without envy. See, the problem in our community, or the problem within the African and Caribbean diaspora, is yes, we do support each other in certain ways, but the moment someone, let's say for example, Jay-Z, he's at the top of whatever you want to call it, he's top, but you have a group of other people, other black people within the diaspora saying that he worships the devil and that's why he is where he is. That's why he's got that much wealth. That's why he does this. But at the same time, he's teaching you the truth about the industry, or he's teaching you how to get to where he is at. It's that crabs in a barrel mentality. And if you so this is the thing about the poor education system. It's the fact of it teaches you how to live and act in a certain way, which is detrimental to the progression of our people in our community. And they also don't teach real unbiased historical timeline of events. For example, in America, there's one state that is now teaching in schools that about the slavery situation where the workers were immigrants or something like that. I can't remember specifically, but at the same time, they're changing the course of history because they can do that. They changing the narrative. So over the next 10, 15, 20 years, that child, when they become an adult, they're still going to either believe that or they're going to learn something new and then ask why was they lied to. But then there's so many other things. Like for example, when I was taught in school about the world wars, I'm there thinking, when you think about the world wars, that in itself, being a critical thinker, you think that every country in the world is at war with each other. But no, it's not. Germany, England, France, and all the other countries that are in the British Empire, which is now called the Commonwealth. They helped fight to protect the interest of the British Empire from Germany taking over. Yo, this is a game to them, but we will get into that much more later. Now, what else do I mean by poor education? See, there's me on the left with Akala, great entrepreneur, great artist, great lyricist. Like he's very well educated. And this is interesting. There's an interview where he says that he actually went to Saturday school to learn about Black history, like proper Black history. And at his mum's house, he was reading books. And his mum's Scottish, by the way, like white or Caucasian Scottish. So she had books for him to read. So his mind was being stimulated. Now, I'm not, this is what I mean by how the system is set up in a way where we think reading is bad, it's negative. But hey, but anyway, let me get to the point. So when I met Okala in August 2010, I'm gonna say apologies to the misspelling of artist. But anyway, we talked about public education versus private education. He said in private schools, they teach the children that they are leaders and they are going to be leading the children that are being taught in public schools. So they're taught how to be confident. They're taught all these other skills that's very much needed. Whereas in public education, what do they teach them? It's not so much of what you see is what you get, but at the same time, they teach them how to be good employers. That's all they're doing. They're setting up children to be good employers for those who are going to be, for those who are being taught in private schools. Okay, yes, there's a very small minority that actually break out of it and end up starting their own business, start employing others, this, that, and the other, and they end up going into the system of private education for their children, and then they begin a new cycle for their generation of family. So, really, and he even mentioned about Eton College, about how the majority of the MPs went to Eton College. When he said this before, it didn't really click to me because I didn't really understand too much. But after a few more slides, you will see why this is important that we mention this, because the education system in the African and Caribbean diaspora needs to change. So, can you name what school he went to? And when I say he, if you don't know who he is, for people watching in America or across the globe, he's mainly known in the UK, mainly in London, and his name is Boris Johnson. So, can you name what school Boris Johnson went to? Well, Boris Johnson attended Eton College. Let's try another one. We'll try another one in a minute. So, in the Telegraph, he mentions, I was very lucky as a kid. I had everything thrown at me. I mean, that's normal in most cases for those who come from a wealthy family. Even if they teach them how to be humble and everything else, they still get things thrown at them. So, can you name what school this guy went to? The former British Prime Minister, Mr. David Cameron. That was so hard saying his name properly because I used to call him something else. But can you name what school he went to? Yes, that is right. David Cameron went to Eton College. From the age of 7, Cameron was educated at 2 independent schools, which also included Prince Andrew and Prince Edward from the British royal family. I mean, and Eton College is a private school, so private schools is more or less a situation where parents set up and maintain the relationships for business purposes and keeping that family or their bloodline growing. It's just business, networking. But let's move on. So yes, that is right. Even some of the British royal family attended the same school as these people that are in the members of parliament. So it does not make any sense for them to represent, because they attend a private school. I mean, yes, they may have a so-called good education and they may be able to navigate through certain things, but they do not understand the ins and outs of the struggle. Well, Prince William on the left, Prince Harry on the. Can you school that these two went to? Wild guess, a wild one. Well, you'll find out the answer in the next slide. But in Eton College, a lot of royals from different countries, especially Britain, actually attended Eton College. This is absolutely amazing. So, as you can see, Prince Harry, born in 1984, Prince William, born in 1982, they attended Eton College. And as I said earlier, it's business. It's just maintaining it's about networking and maintaining business relationships. That's all it really is when it comes to a lot of people in the that go to public schools do not understand this, and they end up having a sort of hatred towards people who are rich and end up hurting themselves in the process of wanting to be rich, but then at the same time they hate the people who are rich or wealthy, or just say financially wealthy, because there's different levels of what the rich means. So it was in 2010, and the headline is How David Cameron Met the Queen Dressed as a Rabbit in a School Play 35 years ago. I'm going to guess they met way before then, but that's not for me to say. That I'm just giving you information that's there, right there, and that's what you have to believe. It's good to always question things, but if the evidence is not there and you're not a physical witness, you can't say whether it's fact or fiction. But the fact is, even though it's in a news article, which we're going to get into much more later about the media, at the same time, it's information. Look at David Cameron on the left. So here's just more info on. So the play was an annual play by Prince Edward, who was 11 years old at the time. And as I keep saying, networking, maintain business contacts for the present and for the future. At this, uh, Peter Getty, the grandson of oil billionaire Getty, James Ogilvy, the son of Princess Alexandra of Kent, and the late Sir Angus Charles Pitterfell, the Guards officer who went on to marry Tiggy League work nanny of Prince Harry. Yo, this is just too much. Look, the two people circled. So can you get the one circle standing up and then sitting up? You know you want to guess. Someone standing up and Boris Johnson down. Let's go back to that picture. Change for Boris Johnson. Of his hair. Not much has really changed for David Cameron. And here says Boris Johnson and David Cameron, how a rivalry that began at Eton spilled out onto the main stage of British politics. Let's move on. So here's a list of political leaders that attended Eton College. Read all their names because that is human. But if you want to read it out for yourself a few times, then you can always find the relation to see as well. So more on Eton College. Eton College has produced 19 British Prime Ministers to date. So this is 2016. So I'm going to say to date because the next time it'll probably be even more than that. So Eton College has produced 19. That's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, and 19 prime ministers. How can that much college produce? That's amazing. I kind of wish to attend that college. Maybe I'll be prime minister. Who knows? How many from your school, if you attend a public school, became British Prime Minister or the President of the United States or the President of your country or the Prime Minister of the country you're from? Can you please tell us? Go to contact us on our website because I really would like to know. And Eton College probably does attract a lot more royal families from across the world, especially Britain. And look at this other stat. What? 37 old. Oh, let me say this properly. 37 people that attended Eton College have been awarded with the Victoria Cross, the largest number to the alumni of any school. What? So not only do that college, or sorry, not only did that college produce 19 British prime ministers, they also produced 37 people who have been awarded with the Victoria Cross. Whoever founded that college, Jake, I want to be friends with them. I mean, wouldn't you want to be friends with them? And all right, jokes aside, let's move on. So here's a little article on David Cameron. Be a little bad boy, smoking cannabis, and he wasn't expelled, but a punishment of writing 500 lines. I mean, that's not really a punishment. I guess they really had high hopes for him back then. Now look at Eton College from the out. Looks like bloody Hogwarts. What are another two articles? One said to produce so many prime ministers. This is on the BBC. Another BBC article. Almost a third of MPs went to private school. I guess there's probably more, but we just go by what that article actually says. Now more on public schools and different types of schools. Faith schools, free schools, academies, city technology colleges, state boarding schools, and private schools. All between the ages of 5 and 16 are entitled to a free place at a state school. Most state schools have to follow the national curriculum. The most common ones are community schools, the local council, and not influenced by business or religious groups. Then we have foundation schools and voluntary schools, which have more freedom to change the way they do things than community schools. Then you have academies run by a governing body, independent from the local council. They can follow a different curriculum. Then we have grammar schools, which is run by the council, a foundation body, or a trust. They select all or most of their pupils based on academic ability, and there is often an exam to get in. I have a story about that. I remember when I was leaving year 6 and I was applying for secondary school. I think it was Archbishop Tennyson, and there's another one. So one was in Oval or Stockwell in London, and there was another one in Croydon. Was it Lanfranc? I can't remember what school it was. But anyway, I had to do a test. I had to do an exam. I failed the exam. Now, this is not to say that I am not intelligent, because all my life I've been told that I'm intelligent. I don't know whether that was to build up self-esteem or anything else, but it really did help build up my self-esteem. And I really do believe I'm intelligent. And I'm not trying to sound cocky or arrogant. I'm just no intelligent. And I know you are intelligent because you are watching this right now. Make a change. You want to make a difference. Make a difference. But story. Get into. I didn't really care for it either, to be honest with you. I ended up going into a which was school for boys, and I'm grateful for that experience I went through going to that school. But but that's my story. So we will look at the national curriculum much later. So here's more information on the faith schools and so faith schools may have different admission criteria and staffing policies for the national curriculum, but they can choose what they teach in religion. But they shouldn't do that. Particular ideology. Well, this ain't in all faith schools because I'm not 100% certain, but for me, to assume that go to a Christian faith-based school, let's say it's a Christian school, they're gonna start believing, okay, well, this religion is right, and then they come across someone who's a Muslim, and then they start to not like that person because they're a Muslim, but at the same time, common interest. Like for example, they could support the same, not American football, they could support football, the same team, but because of whatever the situation may be, because of their religion, because it's the same thing as saying, okay, well, all Muslims have a beard, all Muslims look like this. But anyway, again, too much. But if they're actually saying they can choose what they teach in religious studies, then you have free schools. So let's run by this. Free schools are funded by the government, but are not ran by the local council. They have more control over how they do things. They're an all ability school, so academic selection process like grammar schools can set their own for staff. They can change and have to follow the national curriculum. Now, who can set up a free schools? Listen carefully. Who can set up free schools? Are run on a not-for-profit basis and can be set up by groups like charities, universities, independent schools, community and faith groups, teachers, parents, and businesses. I'm going to repeat two vital ones: teachers and parents. There you go. You've got the university technical colleges, which they specialize in subjects like engineering and construction and teach these subjects along with business skills and using IT. Pupils study academic subjects as well as practical subjects, leading to technical qualifications. The curriculum is designed by the university and employers who also provide work experience for students. To play later on, where they mention about education and work. But Yeah, I'm interested about showing that to you guys. So anyway, so university technical colleges are sponsored by university employers and further education colleges. Now we have studio schools. Studio schools are small schools, usually with around 300 pupils, delivering mainstream qualification through project-based learning in realistic situations as well as learning academic subjects. Students work with local employers, a personal coach, and follow a curriculum designed to give them the skills and qualifications they need in work, qualification need in work, or to take up further education. Now you have academies, which they're publicly funded independent schools. They don't have to follow the national curriculum and can set their own term times. They still have to follow the same rules on admission, special education needs, and exclusions as other state schools. However, they get their money direct from the government, not the local council, and they are run by an academic trust which employs the staff. Some have sponsors such as businesses, universities, other schools, faith groups, voluntary groups. Sponsors are responsible for improving the performance of their schools. Sponsors are responsible for improving the performances of their schools. Again, the sponsors are businesses, universities, and other schools, voluntary groups. Now, technology colleges. Colleges are independent schools in urban areas to. They are owned and funded by companies as well as central government. Not they have a particular emphasis on technological. Now you have state boarding schools, which provided free education but charge fees for boarding. Some state boarding schools are run by the local councils, and some are run on free schools or free schools. Children need to board and will assess children's suitability for boarding. They have particular organizations that can help with costing. So if you're interested, there's a link, but it's up to you. We mentioned about the private schools. Now let's look at the national curriculum. It's a brief overview, so I'm just gonna go by this really quickly. So if you want to pause to read, that's your choice. If you want to rewind, go back and forth to make sure you're up to date, you're free to go ahead. So from 3 to 5, the key stage is called early years. In the UK, this is Britain still. And from 5 to 7, it's key stage 1. From 8 to key stage 2 to 11, key stage 2. From 11 to 16, key stage, so 11 to 14, key stage 3, and from 14, key stage 4. Now, as you can see here, right here, it says age 4 to 5, year reception, key stage early years, assessment, teachers assessments. There's also an optional assessment at the start of the year. Child needs to be tested at the start of the year. Even though it's optional, years old. I mean, yeah, the choice is yours if you want in these schools and African Caribbean Britain thing for their development based on the evidence of the way that our community is. And let's go to GCSEs, Key Stage 4. Before I get into the GCSEs, every child or every person, regardless of the age, they learn differently. They have different ways that they take in information. They may be able to see, and they may be able to act out things. But let's put this into proper perspective. There's different learning methods. The issue with these schools is they do not teach children on how they really appeals to them. So if it's visual audio, whether it's audio or whether it's just visual or whether it's kinesthetics where it's just practical, there's different ways. For example, I'm a person that learns practical. Like I see something, I see how it's done, and then I act it out. That's how I learn. That's how quickly I learn. You notice that some children will learn things a lot slower. Some, for example, um if it's visual, audio, or just visual, and they're trying to read, and you think that you they're trying to say that the child cannot read because they're reading really slow, according to them, or according to you. They're reading really, really slow. But it's how they take in the information. But that's reading is different from taking in the information and understanding it and projecting what they learn. That's a whole different ball game. But let's go into GCSEs for year 11. The problem with GCSEs is, yes, it's good to take exams now and again, but they have this particular criteria that you have to match. You don't have, let's say, for example, the student wants to learn economics. Let's say they want to learn that they have to have an A in English, a B in maths, or a A in double science, and an business studies. Now, let's say they get an A in English, they get a C in business and business studies, and they get a D in science. If that does not match up with the criteria that the college that they're applying for, or the college that they have applied for, because there could be many colleges and they have the same criteria, then they're not going to be able to do the courses that they want to do. Find an alternative or not go. And what ends up happening But what ends up happening of young black guys, especially, is they end up turning it into doing criminal activities so they can latest whatever or stuff that relates to certain things. It's like how do I put this into words, or how can I make an analogy? It's like building a table. You need the legs. You can have you can have 2 legs for a table. You can have 4 legs. You can have 6 legs, depending on the length of the table. You can have different types. But what I'm trying to the point I'm trying to make is at the end of the day, children are being affected. Children within the African and Caribbean diaspora is being affected by these criteria, this system that's in place. It's just to me, I say it's unfair, very unfair. But for example, I'll give you one more example and then I'll move on. I promise. Basically, what happened was I wanted to do music studies. I wanted to do music technology in college. I never got the grades that I wanted in for my GCSEs, so I had to do an alternative course, which was media studies, which I'm grateful for. But at the same time, it would have helped if I really did the music technology course, because then probably hit a certain goal and did whatever. Who knows what would have happened? There's no time for what ifs. This happened or what if that happened. The fact of the matter is, even though the mock exams, I did very well. I did so well that the teachers made me think and made me think. I got overconfident. So I didn't study that much. And what happened was I fell flat on my face and got poor grades. Because I was overconfident because yes, the teacher they big me up, which is a great thing if a teacher is bigging up the students. But at the same time, it's about balance in the end. It's about balance. But the point I'm trying to make is if the criteria of having whatever grades wasn't there, with me falling flat on my face but for the grades, would that have mattered? That's neither that. Anyway, I'm waffling. Let me carry on. So by the end of each summer term, the school must write a report on your child's progress and talk it through with you. That says it all. So here's a list of what they're teaching in schools, what they're teaching in schools now at key stage 1 and 2. I'll just point out and say one thing that two things. I was not taught about ancient and modern foreign languages in primary school key stage 1 and 2. I would have definitely remembered that. I didn't learn about computing because I remember my time computers were rare in schools. They were rare, and even so, we only played games in it. So look, your child will take the test in May. The English reading, English grammar, punctuation, and spelling, which is fair enough. I mean, depending on test itself, because if you're living in England and you do need maths, if well, you know, in the world, people dealing with them later, and not just that, but that it deals with a lot of other things. Key stage 2, the child will take a test again. Same thing: English reading, English grammar, punctuation, and spelling. Maths, they'll take the test. It'll be less than 4 hours. 4 hours at that age, sitting down. Kids are active. Can you? Yeah. Now, another thing that I did not learn in Key Stage 3 was citizenship. So I would like to know, if you've got a child that goes to school in Britain and they're in Key Stage 3 or was in Key Stage 3 and they were taught citizenship, then please let us know what exactly they are teaching. Because I want to know if that ties in with what we mentioned earlier about not teaching the laws of the land. Key stage 4, that the core subjects, English, maths, and science, and obviously the foundation, public education, and citizenship. All right. So sex and relationship education onwards. Now, from when I was in year 7, we most certainly did not learn about sex and relationships and education, or sex and relationships. We didn't learn about that. We learned about sex education in year 6. And the teacher, he only put on, was it? Yeah, he said. But yeah, he put on a video of it and like a projector, all this other stuff. If I'm completely honest with you, the way it was taught to me, it went way over my head. No idea what was going on. And sex and relationships need to be taught, because if it was taught properly, point blank, it's easy to say, oh, a guy should approach women this way, this, that, and the other. Just about the approach. It's about how they handle rejection, how they handle, how, deal with the rejection properly. Most guys get rejected. They end up being angry, and they end up saying bitter words towards the person that they were pursuing in the first place, calling her ugly, calling her a hoe. But if she was a hoe, why are you approaching her for? That goes down to the level of the education that most kids are getting in this, not just in this country, but even in America. I mean, you can debate that if you want, but the truth of the matter is, and relationships were taught properly in not just homes, a lot better off, not just in the African and Caribbean diaspora, but as a whole in the whole globe, point blank. In the UK, which many African and Caribbean attend. So I went back. All right, so let's look at the African and Caribbean. So this one will be very brief. our aunt, and she told me that have the easier the access to proper quality education. Now, she's watching. So don't take this as word for word, everyone. Same thing. And this was a few years ago, so I only remember a few bits. The access to proper quality education, because that's why set up, because it made me think I was and reinforce the education system. All right. There's also schools set up by cult religious groups. But fair play to what they are doing, but it continues the cycle of pushing out a certain ideology that is detrimental to our community, because it deals with separation, even though we're supposed to be teaching about peace, love, and unity. Well, it's not. I think that is clear. I mean, they do teach other stuff which are relevant and make sense, but at the same time, the one thing that is the natural resources that and how the government is run in the education system, just to be clear. Because it's easy to blame certain things, or when Goodluck Jonathan was president, or when Nelson Mandela was president of, and like it's so easy. It's so easy to they're the face, but level of influence and leadership, but they're just, for the lack of a better word, they're just puppets. And you will see why later on. All right, so the Caribbean education system. Now, in some Caribbean countries, boys are taught how to build stuff and create stuff. Girls are taught how to make their own clothes. So a self-sufficient thing there makes more sense, and this needs to be implemented in as well as and America. For certain, they're not really taught about the historical facts. That includes Africa as well, like the influence that people have had on the Caribbean, and Caribbean that's had influence on Africa. For example, Marcus Garvey, he influenced. This is just too easy. Guess who he influenced? Would although although Ghana's not really independent, Ghana's independent mainly because of Marcus Garvey. African countries and even Caribbean countries are more or less independent thanks to Marcus Garvey. It's like a domino effect. There you go. Now, what about the education system in the USA? Here is a video from Dr. Umar Johnson speaking on the education in the USA. As I get through this, because I'm still trying to navigate myself with this system that I'm using. So please bear with me. Thank you. No, it's not.
System and the mental health system, education and ADHD, the learning disability and conduct disorder, mental retardation and required disorder. Ritalin and Adderall, Strattera and Meditate, Vyvanse and Concerta, Zoloft and Paxil. Our children are the raw materials in a $50 billion a year psychiatric medication complex that's turning 5 and 6-year-old bleaching drug addicts in kindergarten. We are guilty of this participation because we are the ones giving our children to the public and charter school system so they can be tested for a minute. Now, I'm a nationally certified school psychologist with a doctorate in clinical psychology. I want to understand that when we test your children, all we are doing is giving them tests that produce numbers, but the tests don't diagnose the child. It is the professional who must do that. So when you say, I want my child tested to see if he has a reading disability, to know that the test does not tell us whether the child has a reading disability. Psychologist who makes the assumption, the leap of faith, the opinion, the hypothesis that based on the test scores have a learning disability. But I need you to know that the learning disability is not a fact. It is an opinion. Nobody in here with the child in special education can prove to me tonight or any other night with your IEP and with the psychological evaluation report, you cannot prove to me that your child is reading disabled. You can't prove that they're ADHD. You can't prove that they're mildly mentally retarded. You can't prove that they're emotionally disturbed. These labels that come out of white supremacist thinking are opinions that are created to justify the mass miseducation of black children. Now, if you've been paying attention, you've been noticing that public schools have been shut down all across America. I just came from Chicago last week, 50 schools shut down. I live in Philadelphia, 40 schools are being shut down. Right here in New York City, schools are being shut down. Everywhere I go, public school is being marked for closure. Why are they shutting down the public schools? Back to the birth of American public education. One of the reasons that compulsory attendance became law in this country is because big business needed to make sure black workers had a minimum basic skills education. So you can go and work in the factory. That's why public education was started. But guess what? They no longer need you in the factory because they have Mexicans who are doing it. They no longer need you in the factory. They have East Indians and Asians and Latinos who are doing it. So the reason public education is being shut down before your eyes is because there's no longer a need for the black worker in order for the American economic order to function. You were born here to serve. And now that your service is no longer needed, they're taking the money that was spent on education and they're now using it for incarceration. This is worse than slavery.
So that was a powerful statement, or more than a statement, by Dr. Umar Johnson. I mean, There was more he was saying, but we had to cut it short because we just want to get straight to the point. And I know I have been going on a bit, so let's get back to this presentation and why you should donate to the Alkebulan Trust and to help us rebuild the education system and the healthcare system within the African and Caribbean diaspora. So, again, what does school really teach children? Truth comes from authority, which is not always the truth. Truth does not always come from authority. May speak the truth on certain things. But society would not authority. Science is punishment. If you don't comply to whatever it may be, you get punished. For example, poll tax in the 80s, in the 1980s in the UK. People refused to pay poll tax. So they were sending them to, the council was sending them to jail. But they sent so many people to jail that they had to stop because it was costing them more than what they were asking for when it came to poll tax. Then they reintroduced council tax. And now they're saying if you don't pay council tax, you have to go to court if you do this and that, or so it's not more of a prison thing anymore. It's if you don't comply, then you get bad credit rating, you get this, that, and the other. It's really messed up. It really is, but it's done that way for a reason. So there is more on the education system. So can you guess when they teach Black history in school in Britain? October is the month they teach Black history in UK schools. October. That's 1 month in the 12 months. Can you guess when they teach Black history schools in America, or technically the United States of America? February. February is the month they teach Black history in their schools. Now, what do they teach in Black History Month? Whether it's in America or Britain, they teach about slavery. They teach about civil rights movement in America, but the Windrush, I'm not too certain if they teach that in America, but definitely teach that here in Britain when most people from the West Indies, from the Caribbean, more or less, they came over to help rebuild it was bombed. They helped rebuild. So let me get it straight. They came over to Britain to help rebuild Britain. Yet at that same time, within that same time, there was or on the flats or in the cafes in certain areas, no dogs, no blacks, no Irish. No dogs, no blacks, no Irish. They don't really teach that much about no dogs, no blacks, no Irish in Black History Month. They do teach more or less about the Windrush and why they came over, which was to rebuild Britain after it was bombed. Then you've got the civil rights movement, which they also teach, which civil rights has nothing to do with Black history. It's history, but not Black history, because it's not Black rights. They don't teach about the Black Panther Party. Britain, they do not teach about the British Black Panther Party, which will go on in another slide. But slavery, they love teaching that. They love teaching that. And that's not Black history either. But not Black history. Yes, Black people were enslaved, but so were white people as well. Why do you think I said earlier, no dogs, no blacks, no Irish, because Irish people were enslaved as well. But this ain't about that. This is what I mean by the education system, the poor education system. If you're not just taught the facts, taught the truth, then you can't really navigate to a destination properly. Your vision is blurred. And slavery in the first place comes from Slavic, and the Slavic people are actually from Europe. So we have this guy here to thank for helping enforce Black History Month. But we've got to extend it a little further beyond schools. Let's be honest here. We can't just rely on schools to teach Black history. And we've got to thank the British Black Panther Party in protesting and marching Black history to be taught in schools. Can. So let's not get angry or upset the fact that they only gave us 1 month, but the fact of the matter, that was a start. But now we have to set the ball rolling. We've got access to the internet now. We've got access to certain books. We've got access to a lot of things. So now is a time for progression. You're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. Obviously, you're right here, right now, watching this, so you are part of the solution. Remember what you learned in school? If so, how often do you apply it right now in your daily life? Let us know. Let's go to the contact page and contact us and let us know. Can you remember what you learned in school? And if you know what it is, what you learned, and you still apply it today, apart from English and apart from maths. In fact, yeah, English and maths if you want to, but other than that, because I'm sure you learn more about other stuff than just that. I mean, we're talking, if we're schools in Britain, we're talking about from nursery to year 1 to year 2 to year 3 to year 4 to year 5 to year 6 to year 7 to year 8 to year 9 to year 10 to year 11. Then you got college, then you got uni. That is early life, your teenage life, your early adult life. So you have to have learned more than maths and English and science. So the things they don't teach in school or at school. All right, so life skills. They don't teach about critical thinking. They don't teach who really controls the system, how to be more independent and self-sufficient, power of their thoughts, nor how to They don't teach them about their own bloodline, the history of their own bloodline. For example, you have a lot of black people now being, or a lot of black people now, they're saying, oh, their ancestors were ancient Egyptians, they did this, they did that, we were kings, we were queens, we were this, we were that. But you're not acting like you're a king or queen. So maybe it's just not in your bloodline. Like, even I see people trying to claim my actual bloodline, and I look at it and I think, wow, that's amazing. We're not even family, but you want to complain. Like, yes, I can say we're family in certain contexts, but in terms of bloodline, come on, stop that foolishness. You got to know your own history, and even if it stems back to slavery, if you can only reach that far back, fine, so be it. But then create your own history. You have your own children; they create their own history, and then so on and so forth. That's how we progress. We can't be stuck on one area or another section of Africa or another section of the Caribbean. We have to be within our own domain. That's what they don't teach. They don't teach all these basic stuff. That's critical thinking. The good news is that more people are teaching their children at home. But what are they really teaching them? What should they teach them? So let's go into that. There was this saying that I said, one of my quotes. So yes, I also go by the name of Versatile Noche Obiwano. And as I was talking about my family name, I mean my bloodline, Obiwano. Go look that out yourself. Look that up yourself. But anyway, I said a pig cannot teach an eagle to fly. A pig cannot teach an eagle to fly. Just think about that for a moment. Nor can an eagle teach a pig to fly. By poor healthcare system. Well, this guy is right here. This elder, then you know you are more or less receiving poor education. I mean, sorry, poor healthcare, even though they're one and the same. But poor healthcare. A lot of people know him and they do not apply what he's been teaching or what he's taught before. Because what he's been teaching has been from the early 90s. From the early 90s. Okay. Poor healthcare is practically junk food, junk food, junk food. And now it's easy to mention about junk food, but the truth of the matter is, in poor income areas, you're going to see a lot of takeaways, especially in Britain. There's a lot of chicken and chips shop. No disrespect to the chicken concierge, um, but at concierge, my bad. Like, at the end of the day, it's poor health. It's not for us. To you than anything else. Then that's why most people can't really elevate properly because they're consuming the wrong foods. Food that is not natural. I mean, look at all that junk food everywhere in that fridge. Fried chicken. But Dr. Sebi says real soul food is the food that enhances the soul. Our central sun or melanin or our carbon, fruits, vegetables, grains. This is the real soul food. Real soul food is food that enhances the soul. Again, real soul food is the food that enhances the soul. You can't tell me that deep fried chicken enhances your soul when after probably a couple of hours after eating it, or even immediately, you end up feeling sluggish. You can't think straight, you can't think properly. Some end up getting muscle spasms because of the too much salt in the chicken, especially if you're buying it from chicken and chip shops. Now, don't get me wrong, I have had chicken and chips in the past, so I know what I'm talking about. I'm talking from experience. However, let me go back into it. Real soul food is food that enhances the sun. Sorry, real soul food is food that enhances the soul. Our central and sun are melanin, our carbon, fruits, vegetable, grains. This is real soul food. But look at the 10 leading causes of death for black people. You've got Alzheimer's disease, and I'm just going to say this right now. Um, all these can be prevented, and all these can be cured. Septicemia, homicide, chronic lower respiratory disease, unintentional injuries, diabetes, stroke, cancer, and heart disease, all of which can be prevented and be cured. Dr. Sebi has cured many with HIV, AIDS, diabetes, cancer, stroke, STDs, arthritis, sickle cell, and many more. He goes on to say, a society that keeps cures a secret so they can continue to sell medication for the huge profits is not a real society, but a huge mental asylum. So what is the solution? Well, according to Dick Gregory, he doesn't eat anything that can fart, doo-doo, pee, or scream. Now that sounds funny, but really, it makes sense. Now, Dr. Sebi also says mucus is the cause of every disease. So, the mucus and you eliminate the disease. Eliminate the mucus and you eliminate the disease. Some of you've got so much mucus inside your system right now, you just don't know. No, because of over the time that you're a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. You're waiting to get ill. Why do you think so many get ill time of year? Flu jab, and you're paying for this flu jab. Doesn't make any sense. I apologize if this is a bit blurry, but that create mucus. It's corn, milk, yes, goat's milk, yes, yes, yes. The only milk that really is best for humans is breast milk. The straight up facts. You don't see a calf drinking human breast milk. You don't. If you do, please show me. So yogurt, syrup, jams, jellies, cookies, butter, cereal, pies, chips, bread, pretzels, deep fried food, soy, sunflower, and and sunflower oil. Cauliflower is not part of food that eliminate mucus because it's not part of the list that Dr. Sebi has made. However, practically certain type of fruits and vegetables and herbs help eliminate the mucus. So let's move on. You can read that. Go ahead, please read that. Again, apologize if it's just blurry. Okay, so why do we need to eat electric foods? Electric foods are alkaline foods which helps the body to heal and nourish itself. Alkaline foods have a pH of 7.0 and above, are found in nature. They are not hybrid, genetically modified, and they are not irradiated. Yeah. So the solutions to the education problem, which I still mentioned earlier, but it's here now. Again, a pig cannot teach an eagle to fly. Don't get me wrong, this is not no so-called racist comment or anything, because it's nothing to do with black versus white. This is nothing to do with Asian versus black or whatever. This is just a straight up comment that a pig cannot teach an eagle to fly, just straight as it is. I mean, just look at nature. You can't see it. You don't see it. So, what can you teach? So when it comes to education, there's no school like home. No place like home. Now, in one video that I did a couple years ago, well, more than a couple years ago now, I said the first teacher is your parents. It is about time we all take responsibility towards nurturing our own rather than allowing society outlets like schools or any form of society. Remember, spread intelligence, not ignorance. The choice is yours. What should you be teaching your children at home? Easy. Fruits, vegetables, and herbs. What they are, how to grow them, and how to consume them, and when to consume them. So also teach them about building and designing, like especially when it of homes and stuff like that. Teach them how to sew, build, because it's simple. You need food, clothing, and shelter. Food, clothing, and shelter in order to. And obviously, you should teach them about other things like stuff, all the other things that I mentioned before. Economy. Right. In the sense of resources of a country, that's the etymology. The etymology is the root word of the meaning. It's an adjective as well, so the term in advertising at first meant simply cheaper than bigger, fast, cheaper per unit. But we're going to stick with resources of a country. And it's simple as that. Now, lovely old woman, isn't she lovely? How many countries does the second of England? How many countries is she the head of? And remember, I mentioned about the British Empire, so that's your little clue, right? Well, head of state of over 50 countries, including African countries and Caribbean countries, which you'll see in the list right here. Just to mention, Zimbabwe was one, but after the way that Robert Mugabe has been going on, dismissed Zimbabwe from the Commonwealth. care. So another situation. See, these are the things we need to really find out what really happened. Did Robert Mugabe say? Sorry, did President Mugabe say we no longer want U.S. head of state? It's the same thing of what Jamaica have been saying and all these other Caribbean countries saying we no longer want the Queen as head of state of our countries, but still they have not proceeded with action. It's all hearsay, all talk. Anyway, Caribbean countries, continents. Deeper than just which also boosts the economy. Now that have the majority control of certain, well, they have control of the system, more or less. These are facts. They can't be denied. But so many people, there's so many other people that's been talking about this. So many people are scared of actually taking real action of solving this issue. I don't see what they're scared about. Education within Africa, their ship will fall, and the world will. So the Rothschilds, yeah. Family control the world economy and have been for many centuries. Some, and there's probably more. So, at the end of the day, here's a little thing that I found. It says the Rothschild dynasty is unquestionably the most powerful visible bloodline on Earth, and their estimated worth is around 500 trillions, despite them being the ones that print the money, but that's another story. Now, look at this. This guy, Jacob Rothschild, looks exactly like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. If only I had the slide of the comparison. And it even says here, we own your news, the media, your oil, and your government. They own Fox News. And not just Fox News, but they own the network Fox. The Simpsons come on, and that's where they have these predictions of Super Bowl, all these other predictions and all these. They're not predictions, they're projections of what they're trying to project into the future, which you can help prevent. So it says here, we own nearly every central bank in the world. Central bank, do you know what a central bank does? Come on, this is a game to them. We have financed both sides of every war since Napoleon. They exercise their power through the World Banking Empire, which is owned by them. It's crazy. So they own the City of London, the US Federal Reserves, the Vatican City, and Washington DC. It's mad. So again, back to critical thinking. When Baron M.A. Rothschild said this, however, I found this, and this is what was said. Apparently, give me control over a nation's currency, and I cannot who makes its laws. So this is all the list of banks that's owned by the Rothschild and controlled by the Rothschild. They control the majority of the banking in the African countries as well as the Caribbean countries. It's absolutely crazy. Like, come on, this is deep. I'm not playing about. Your help to help us rebuild the education and healthcare system within the African and Caribbean. And you're much welcome because we'll be able to do the things that we need to do. Now, here's the natural resources. It's black because it is the economy. So these are what they have, what Africa has. They have the largest quantity of natural resources, obviously, because that's been the hub of the world. It still is, despite the poor. That's why there's poor education, because they know if we take back control of our resources, it's game over for them. The list in Africa. This may not be all of them, but this is what I found. So what is this? Well, the solution is simple. You can donate, do workshops, and any group workshops, and be able to go around covering countries and actually do workshops properly. Because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be taught, and there's only so much we can do. But we want to keep it simple and be more direct. So we're also doing workshops one-on-one or as a group online. So you can join that if you wish to. But this is about why you should donate. There'll be a separate video for why you should donate. So what is like intellectual property? One-on-one workshop, group workshops, and if you're eligible, joining for your family group as a business partner. So that's one of my other businesses, and we're looking for mainly those who identify as women and identify as being Black, African, or Caribbean, whichever case it may be. And because we're just trying to start build a family business. So here's our target market. Our target market is 16 to 25-year-olds, Black people, offline, various ages, who also identify as being Black single parents. It's important that we get single parents in, because without them, they need guidance. They can't raise their children on their own. We're taking back the proverb of "it takes a village to raise a child." So our market size is quite huge within the African and Caribbean diaspora. Competitors and competitive advantage. Well, you got the UNICEF, which is part of the UN. This is set up by the same family that we mentioned before. Have a lot of resources and personnel at their disposal, because they have everything in place. from the get-go. Well, not from the get-go, but they're more established, so that's why they have an advantage. And our other competitors are mainly organizations that have education and healthcare as their mission within the African and Caribbean diaspora. But we are not looking at competitors, we're just trying to do our own thing, and with your support, we'll be able to achieve our goals. So the revenue model, so how we receive donations is through online donations, doorstep fundraising, and group workshop donations, which is offline when we do group workshops. So here's the management team. You got myself, Rafael Nocci, the founder and executive director. You got John Obiwana, which is the co-founder and executive director. You got Naomi Nams Elliott as director. So this is the current small team at the present. We want to keep it small for now until done, and then we will think about expanding how many people are getting involved, because it's all about dedicating the task to the right people. So we plan on partnering with other relevant organizations to expand our awareness. We launched in October 2014. Our goal was to raise enough funds to go to Ghana and build a school. It didn't work. It didn't work. In 2015, we decided that this was not an effective method. It didn't work, so we decided doing workshops. So in 2016, we decided to get into contact with a business advisor, and business advisor I got in contact with, he recommended that I did 11 courses online for free, which I've done, and it's made me see more clear on done and how it needs to be done. So in January 2017, the decision was made to begin with doing one-on-one workshops. So if we start with one person, whether it's online or offline, then that will set the ball rolling. But at the same time, we want to be as effective. We want to be very effective. If we start off one-on-one workshops first, online or offline, then we'll do the group ones. From the offline ones, one-on-one, it will lead to group ones, because hopefully they will recommend their friends and their families and their colleagues. So off funds, then we ability to actually access or a room. We're hoping to do it at the library or one of the local libraries. Out doing the workshops there, the group workshops. Doing raising door to door is not going to be enough. Because if it will, that's enough how important it is. So financial projections, this is just a close estimate, it's never accurate. This is why I say it's never enough. Well, we have on week one total basically 197 married. It can see going doing door to door for a few hours and just one person raising funds. The expenditure going out to help try and run and maintain this organization, it really is a lot. So as you can see, the expenditure that's been going out. Now, if you're still unsure about and you really want to know where your money's going and you want to see everything, then I would strongly advise that you actually go to our website and actually sign up to our monthly updates, and you will get a clear snapshot of what's coming from, and more detailed information of what the donations is being spent on, because it's important to have more what is being done. We want to be different as possible. Be predicted one person doing a donation. The minimum that donation towards that rich fundraising, the minimum is $5 grand. Well, we're gonna round it up. So imagine if we get funding from online donors, such as yourself. Imagine it. We'll be able to not only achieve our goals quicker, but aware about really is, and marching protest these. They already had their agenda set out from the beginning. Holding up traffic because you don't agree with what they're saying or what they're doing. I don't agree with what they're saying or doing, but at the end of the day, it's more effective to put into action certain things that are more important, which is rebuilding the education and healthcare system within the African and Caribbean diaspora. So, do you see why we need your investment and your support? Without your help, we will not be able to do what we have planned. So, I want to thank you for listening and thank you for your time. So, if you made a donation, thank you. If you want to learn more about the donation, how to make a donation, then please watch the video on the same page. If you're watching it on our website, if you're watching it on YouTube, then there's a separate video for how to make a donation. I thank you for your support. Peace and blessings.